Hi everybody, Toby Milroy here again, and thanks so much for taking the time to watch this quick video. I wanted to bring this quick video to you for a really important reason. After the last video that I did a few days ago, I got a lot of really positive feedback. I really appreciate that. So thank you so much for sending in all the nice emails and messages through the system. But I wanted to address one specific statement that one of our listeners, our watchers, made. And Tony Nee, I hope I'm saying your name right, NGI, Tony. Tony wrote in and said, number one, it was a very nice email. I really appreciate it, Tony. Thank you. Tony said that he's been watching the series of videos that I've done over the last few weeks, and he was sort of fascinated with, and his question was, you know, I've been watching your video series over the last few weeks. How do you get so much done, right? How are you able to make so many of these videos and do all of this work and manage the team that you have to manage and things like that, and still get so much done? And I thought that that was a very interesting question, and I wanted to get into detail with that today. I wanted to show you maybe 3 or 4 of my favorite life hacks, my favorite productivity hacks. And we're going to be talking about a lot of this stuff and a lot of the marketing systems and strategies that Tony was describing in his message at the Martial Arts Management Summit coming up in your area in just a few weeks. MAmanagementsummit.com is the website you should check out. So if you're interested in growing your school this year and you really need to attract more new students into your school, or you want to help develop your staff members more robustly or more quickly, or if you want to really sort of build a more substantial business over the next 12 to 24 months, the MA Management Summit, the Martial Arts Management Summit, is really something you should consider. So go on over to MAmanagementsummit.com and check that out. But for today, I wanted to, again, walk you through maybe 3 or 4 of my favorite kind of life hacks, my favorite time hacks. The first thing I think is this. The first thing to understand, I think, is this. In my view, time is like the only irreplaceable commodity in the world, in the universe, right? You know, there's plenty of money out there, right? There's plenty of money to be made. If you lose some money here or there, you can always make more money, right? You can always solve people's problems in a more robust way. You can always come up with some way to make more money. But time, once it's spent, once you spend that minute or that hour or that day, it's gone forever, and it will never ever come back, regardless of how much time or regardless of how much money you have, right? That time is gone. You know, it's really one of the reasons why it's very difficult to get me on the telephone live, right? I have lots of people, you know, who work for me that help me manage my time very well, because I know that my time is irreplaceable, as everyone's is. So I have to be very careful about how I manage that time. So again, today, 3 or 4 ways that I find that I use every day to help accelerate how much stuff I can get done in the same 10 hours or 12 hours or 14 hours a day that you may have as well. So number 1 is this, and I think this is critical. I think this is very, very, very important to do. I've disciplined myself over the years to plan out my day the day before, right? So the last, I don't know, hour of every day, I sit down at my desk at home, or I sit down wherever I am, and I look back through what I've done for the day, and I make the plan for the next day, right? I think far too often we allow ourselves to be swept up by the crisis of the moment, right? And we lose sight of what our objectives really are, and we get busy being busy, right? We get busy dealing with the phone when it rings, and dealing with, you know, the ceiling tile that need to be repainted, or the bathroom that needs to be cleaned, or the parent that has the challenge with the student in the school. And I'm not saying that those things don't need to get done, but I think it's very important that you focus your energy and attention on the most valuable activities of your day, and that you try to not allow yourself to be distracted by too many of the minutia. So one of the ways that I've done that I've been able to do that in my own life is having a really good plan for the day. And I make that plan typically the evening before. So I think the evening review, if you want to call it that, reviewing what you've done for the day, reviewing what the next day should look like, I think is very, very, very useful. One of the unexpected benefits that reviewing the day and planning for the next day, the day before, has is that you have the ability, and this might be a second life hack if you want to consider it that, you have the ability to program your brain, to program your subconscious mind to work for you when you're not completely conscious. Does that make sense? There's a great book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And one of the strategies that you learn in Psycho-Cybernetics is this ability to put your subconscious mind to work solving problems while you're sleeping. And I know it sounds kind of foo-foo, right? It sounds kind of ethereal, perhaps. But I promise you it works. If you pre-program yourself while you're drifting off to sleep or while you're right before you go to bed, the things that you think about in that hour or so before you go to sleep remain in your subconscious pretty actively. And I can tell you time and time again where I've been working on a headline or a subhead for a sales letter, or I've been working on an offer, or how to build a better strategy for a lead conversion website or something like that. And I've put my brain to work on it when I went to sleep. And when I woke up in the morning, I had the idea, right? I said, I know what I'll do, right? I know the headline that I'm going to go with. And I think that's a very useful strategy. So maybe this is a second life hack. So maybe we'll do a couple of extra. But putting your mind to work on solving problems overnight is a very useful and very valuable strategy. And I'm sure all of you have done it before. I'm sure 100% of you, if you're a black belt, if you're a master instructor, a master teacher, I'm sure that when you were a student, or even yesterday, you were planning a class, or you were thinking about training, or you were thinking about a sparring match, and it consumed so much of your thoughts, it consumed so much of your energy, that your mind was constantly rehearsing that form, or rehearsing that combination of tactics that you wanted to use in the sparring match. And without perhaps consciously being aware of it, your subconscious was rehearsing that over and over and over again while you were sleeping. So I think that that's a very useful life hack, a very useful strategy that you should use. Put your mind to work solving those problems overnight. The third, perhaps, life hack, I guess, now that we've added that one, the third life hack that I think is very useful for you is a concept that I think Tony Robbins has a kind of a cool acronym for it. He calls it NET time, N-E-T, NET time. N-E-T, meaning no extra time, right? What are things that you can do that require no extra time? Sort of this idea of multitasking, where multitasking is appropriate. Now, let me preface this by saying one thing. Focus is incredibly important, right? It's incredibly important when you have a task, when you have something that you're trying to solve, and it requires you to be focused on it. It's incredibly important for you to discipline yourself to maintain 100% focus. You know, this Facebook, internet, life on demand lifestyle that we live now can be very distracting and very damaging. Your notifications popping on your cell phone about a text message or about a call or about an update on Facebook can really distract you from what your primary objectives are. So I'd recommend you turn all that stuff off. But in specific, what I'm describing is when it's important for you to be focused, you must discipline yourself to be incredibly focused. But there are times where what you're doing doesn't require much focus at all. In fact, in most cases, you're almost on autopilot. So let me give you two quick examples. One is, right now I'm driving. I'm heading to one of our school locations right now to do a little bit of an analysis, and I'm completely aware of what's happening around me. I'm completely aware of the traffic pattern and what's happening up ahead, and I'm looking very far ahead on the road, much past the car I'm behind, and I'm very well aware of what's happening around me, but my brain isn't really all that engaged, right? There are lots of other cycles in my brain that I could be using. So recording this video, for example, while I'm driving right now is very useful, right? Very useful for me. It saves a lot of time. I think in addition to that, I always have in the car some type of educational content, right? Whether I'm listening to a CD or a DVD or an audio program or audiobooks, right? I'm a huge fan of audiobooks. I listen to them in the car on the way to and from the office or to one of the locations or whatever the case might be. So the time I spend in the car, Zig Ziglar used to call it Automobile University, and I really like that. I really think that's very cool. Also, obviously now with internet connections being as good as they are on your mobile phones, I listen to YouTube videos in the car on the way back and forth, things like that. So I think optimizing that downtime that you have while you're doing things that aren't so engaging. The other example I would use for that is I've had my house wired with Bluetooth all over the house, and I can play audio books or videos or YouTube videos or whatever the case might be while you're getting ready for work in the morning, while you're getting ready to go to the school or whatever the case is. It's been one of those things that really kind of makes me crazy. I have this time. It takes me 45 minutes or an hour, whatever it is for you, but by the time I wake up and get a shower and get dressed and everything and get ready for the day and get heading out the door, that's time where it's quiet in the house. I really don't have anything else going on. The family's still sleeping. So it's sort of this time that I can really think. I can sort of continue to educate myself, continue to advance what I'm thinking about. So I use that time either to think about problems or to listen to new material, right? So again, if most people don't read but an hour a month, right? But if you could listen to an audiobook or whatever the case might be, an hour a day or 2 hours a day, imagine the advantage that gives you over the rest of your competition. You're continuing to learn, you're continuing to grow while everyone else is static. So number 3, this concept of net time. Where can you be multitasking? Where it's appropriate, right? Where it doesn't distract you, but where it's appropriate. The 4th is sort of another optimization that I really like, is if you look at YouTube. I love YouTube. I love YouTube. I call it YouTube University, as Zig Ziglar calls Automobile University. But you can learn just about anything on YouTube. I'm constantly Googling how to do this on Facebook, or how to do that on websites, or how to, do this, piece of marketing strategy, or this type of copywriting, or whatever the case might be. Constantly looking for that kind of stuff on YouTube. And there's a great little strategy on YouTube. There's a little gear icon in the bottom right-hand corner of your YouTube screen. And that gear icon, nowadays, the HTML5 YouTube player is loaded by default. You used to have to turn that on, but nowadays it's loaded by default. And that little gear icon has a setting in there where you can listen to YouTube videos at 1.5 times or 2 times speed. And one of the interesting things that you learn when you're learning about speed reading, which is my number 5, but when you learn about speed reading, is that the human ear and brain, you can listen about 4 to 5 times faster, some people more, but 4 to 5 times faster than you can speak. So you can listen to and understand an audio book or a YouTube video at 1.5 or 2 times or 2.5 times speed, depending on how fast the speaker talks, and consume that content at double the rate, triple the rate other people can. So I think that that's a great optimization. I use it all the time. I love it. I think it's an incredibly useful strategy for audiobooks and for audio content that you can listen to. You can listen much faster than the speaker can speak. So I think that's a great optimization. And then the 5th and final one for the day is, frankly, speed reading. I've taken maybe 6 or 7 speed reading courses over the years, and it's been one of the things that I've really found to be a dramatic accelerator of my own knowledge, is being able to read and consume print material, books and letters and things like that much faster than most people can. And there are several strategies in speed reading. Speed reading isn't just myth, right? There's a lot of science behind how your brain consumes printed material, and there's something called subvocalization that you have to train yourself not to do. And it's a long story, but I would recommend everybody take a speed reading course. I may even do a little video like this about that specific topic, because it's one of my favorite life hacks. But speed reading, the ability to consume written material, print content at a much accelerated rate, is a very useful strategy for you, and will serve you incredibly well over your lifetime. So I'd recommend that you do that. So those are my 5 favorite life hacks. I hope that that's been useful for you. I hope, Tony, that sort of answers your question. How do you get so much done in a day? I hope that helps you kind of understand how I think about those types of things, and some of the things that you might be able to use in your specific school, in your specific life, that might help you really implement much faster. So I really hope that's useful for you. Look forward to speaking to you soon. Speak to you then. Thanks so much.